been focusing in a lot on developing techniques for soloing and chop building, but let's switch gears now and concentrate on building your chord vocabulary. What we're going to do is we're going to take the ever-faithful power chord, by adding certain notes to these chords, we're going to mutate them, and we're going to add some colors and drama into basic chord progressions. So let's first make sure everybody knows what the power chord is. Basically, it's a two-note chord consisting of the root and fifth. For example, a B power chord would consist of B and the fifth F sharp. Now you could expand and you can double the B, or you can put the fifth in the bass, which makes the chord sound even heavier, so the F sharp will be below the B. This is really effective. And one other type that's not really a typical power chord, but it's a progressive power chord. You take the root, the fifth, and you add the ninth on top. It sounds like this. To explore this topic a little bit further, you have to understand two things. First of all, which notes can be added to the power chords, and second of all, how those notes affect the name of the chord and also the function of the chord in the progression. First of all, we have the root and fifth, what you see as an example. If we add an E or a third to that, we have a C major chord. If we add an E flat to that, which is a minor third, we have a C minor chord. If we add a second or ninth to that, we have what's called a suspended second chord. In this case, it would be a D. If we add a fourth to that, we have what's called a suspended fourth. In this case, the fourth would be. All of those chords added one note to the power chord and drastically changed the sound. Now let's go through some chords that add two notes. If we add the major third and the major seventh, we have a major seventh chord. So you'd have the power chord, the major third E, and the major seventh B. If we add the minor third and a flat seventh, we have a minor seventh chord. In this case, it would be an E flat and a B flat. Added to the power chord. If we add a major third and a flat seven, we have what's called a dominant seventh chord. In this case, E is a major third, B flat is a flat seventh, added to the power chord. And now there are a couple of chords which I call add nine chords. What they are major and minor chords, so we're going to have a major and minor third added, and on top of that, the ninth as well. A major add nine would add a major third E and a 9 D. A minor add 9 would add the flat third, E flat, and the ninth, D. Now let's talk about how the 11th added to the power chord changes the name. We'll keep the major third, and we'll add an 11th, and we end up with a major add 11th. Here's the power chord, here's the major third, here's the 11th. Don't worry, we won't be playing these fingerings. And the final chord is a minor 11th chord where we add three notes. The minor third, the flat 7, and also the 11th, which once again is F. And just to make this easier for now, we'll put the 5th in the bass. Now what this new information allows us to do is to take a simple chord progression that you wrote, maybe you have a great melody going, and develop the sound of the chords to add some spice. Let's say the chord progression we have is all power chords A, F to G. Very, very typical. By adding some of these intervals and creating these more interesting chords, perhaps we can make it sound a little bit more interesting, or we can take it in a more dramatic direction. So I'll turn the A into an A minor add 9. We'll turn the F into an F sus 2. And maybe the G into a G sus 2. So what started out as now it sounds like that's the basic picture. Now, unfortunately, when you're trying to play this stuff loud and heavy, it's going to sound pretty bad because of the dissonance of the intervals. I know you don't want to hear this, but I'll demonstrate. Some of them don't sound that bad, but once we start getting to 11ths and 7ths, believe me, it's horrible. People will cringe. So here's where orchestration comes into play. What we're going to do is we're going to divide the part up into two separate parts. And you can do this when you're recording, or you can do it in a band. If you have a bass and guitar, you can divide the parts up. Or if you have two guitar players or guitar and keyboards. The concept is one guy plays the power chord, or the root and the fifth, and the other guy plays the added tension. Sometimes it's either one note, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's three. So I have a couple of examples that demonstrate how, in our case, open strings added to power chords will create some interesting sounds. So let's go through the different chords we can create, and then we'll make a little song out of it. The first power chord was an A. We added a second to it, and it created an A suspended second. The second power chord was a B. We added a fourth to it, and we created a suspended fourth. The third power chord was a C. We added a major third and a major 7, and it turns into a C major 7. The next power chord was a C sharp. We added a B and an E and created a C sharp minor 7th. The next power chord was a D with the 5th and the bass. We added on a major 3rd and an 11 and created a major add 11 chord. The next chord was a C. We added on a D and an E and we created a major add 9. The next chord was an A. We added on a C and a B, which is a minor 3rd and a 9th, and we created a minor add 9 chord. Next chord was a G. We added on an A, and we created another suspended second, G sus 2. And the chord after that had F sharp by itself in the bass, and we added on a D, an A, and an E. So what we have created is a major chord with an added 9th, but the 3rd is in the bass. Next chord was an F sharp. We added on an A, a B, and an E, and we created an F sharp minor 11 chord. chord after that was an F. We added on a G, and we created an F sus2. After that we had an E, and first we made an E suspended fourth by adding on the fourth A, and then we made an E major by adding on the third G sharp. So we had the next chord was an F sharp. We added on an A sharp, a B, and an E, and we came up with an F sharp 7 add 11. The chord after that was an A. We added on a B and a C sharp to create a major add 9. And the second to last chord was a B, and we added on a D sharp and an E to create a major with an added 11th. And we end the whole thing up on a C sharp minor 7. Okay, so I'd like to demonstrate with the sequencer what this sounds like with the two parts divided up. So I'll play with a heavy sound, the power chords, and the sequencer will play the picking part that I demonstrated before. And instead of having an ugly mess trying to play it all together with distortion, we have a nice collaboration of the two parts. And this is great when you're recording because you can add a lot of fidelity. You can have a great heavy sound underneath, and then with an acoustic or a super clean guitar you can do the picking, or that could be piano, whatever. It adds a lot of dimension to your writing. So let's hear what that sounds like. As you can see, our power chord has come a pretty long way. We started with some really basic nonsense and we came up with some pretty cool sounding chords. Now, granted, the progression that I created for that exercise really doesn't make too much sense. So let me show you a little song that incorporates a lot of those chords and is more like a piece of music. I mean, you can use it for background to a vocal part, or it could be backing up a solo or whatnot, but it uses basic power chords that I'll be playing, and the sequencer will be playing the second guitar part. And check it out.